Thank you.
It's too low.
All right. Let me fix this up, guys. A bit taller. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming, of course. It's a very, very important day. Very important day. Now, if you don't mind, I do have some notes here. Now, I'm old enough to remember when the slogan on Victorian number plates proudly said, "Victoria have a place to be." Who remembers that? Yeah. Remember that? Now, does anyone apart from left-wing activists and union leaders seriously believe that it's still the place to be? No, exactly no. Now, these days, that slogan might invite derision and ridicule. That's what it might imply these days. Now, in the second half of last year, 335 Victorians were leaving our state every day to live someplace else. More than 60,000 of our friends and family decided that Victoria was not the place to be. Now, it wasn't that they didn't love Victoria. We all love Victoria. They just couldn't stand the lies, the cover-ups and the corruption for even a moment longer. So they had to leave. They had to leave. I'm sure some of you thought the same thing along the way. Now, they were sick of living their lives under a man whose incompetence is only matched by his ability to deny responsibility for the mess that he and he alone has created. The man, that's right, the man who can't recall when he's asked important questions. It happened 6 months ago, you can't recall, you're the Premier of Victoria? Come on, rubbish. They were sick of the economic mismanagement. Our state is in more than $100 billion of debt. That is more than any other state in our Commonwealth. And it is predicted to rise to $170 billion, more than the combined debt levels of Tasmania, Queensland, and New South Wales. Now, the only thing that the Andrews Labor government does better than spend our money is interfere in our lives. That's right. That's right. The absurd overreach, like the permanent pandemic powers that have enabled Daniel Andrews to act like a quasi-dictator. But it's not enough for Daniel Andrews to interfere in our lives. He wants to interfere in our children's lives as well. Now, we've had enough of the erosion of our parental rights, and we are fed up with our children being exposed to inappropriate, sexualised content in the classroom under the guise of education. Am I right? Yes. Yes. Now, ladies and gents, it is no wonder that Victoria, once the place to be, last year experienced the largest outbound migration since records have been kept in this country. Now, it's one thing after another with Premier Daniel Andrews. Now, it's very easy for us to forget because we all want to forget traumatic experiences, but I'm going to have to remind you, so bear with me, the list is long. The red shirt scandal, Sluggate, hotel quarantine, no ambulances, school closures, toxic soil in the West, the Belt and Roads fiasco that resulted in the federal government having to step in to block the deal, a health system on the verge of collapse after years of neglect, elective surgery wait list as long as your arm, suicides, family breakdown, the misuse of public funds, cover-ups, the closure of small businesses, bankruptcies, divorces, closed playgrounds, closed beaches, the Ring of Steel, 5 kilometres from your home, rubber bullets, capsicum spray, pregnant women arrested in their homes for a Facebook post, curfews, a passport so you could go and have a coffee with your friend at the shops, the most locked down city planet Earth has ever seen. The list goes on, but I'm going to stop there. I think you get the idea. Now, can I suggest to you, ladies and gents, that 60,000 Victorians didn't need to leave, only one man had to leave, right? Chairman Dan, he's got to go. He's got to go. So, obviously, my name is Senator Ralph Babet and I represent the United Australia Party. And I have not left Victoria because, like you, I believe that with all of my heart that Victoria one day can once again become the place to be. Now, I was elected at this year's federal election and I was sworn into office in July as the Senator for Victoria, obviously. Now, the UAP was the only minor party from the Conservative side of politics in Victoria to win representation in the Senate. We had 153,000 first preference votes. But here is my question to you. Why is it that more Conservatives were not elected into the Senate or the House of Reps at the federal election? What went wrong? What went wrong? We worked hard, we were passionate, we were dedicated, we stood in the cold distributing how to vote cards, we volunteered our time, we went to protest, we held up signs, we attended events such as this. We all did, and yet our vote fell flat. Not only here, but all over the country. What went wrong? Well, with hindsight, we know what went wrong because now we have the data. It's very clear. Division. That's what went wrong. Division. In the Senate, we had 39 different parties or independents contesting. Out of those, I would say approximately 10 I would consider to be conservative-leaning minor parties or independents. 10 out of 39. Now, these parties and independents, we were all fighting amongst each other and cannibalising each other's votes. That's what happened. The infighting meant that the vote was split to such an extent that a minor Conservative party was less likely to win. We might as well have handed it over to Labor and the Greens on a silver platter. We did this to ourselves. Now, in Victoria, collectively, as a group of Conservative minor parties, we received about 12% of the Senate vote. 12%. The UAP got 4% of that, the largest share by far. Now, that was enough to elect one senator, just me. Now, imagine what... Thank you. We can do better. Imagine what could have been done with a more unified Conservative movement. Nationally, it was very similar. Nationally, Conservative minor parties received about 12% of the vote in the Senate. However, because it was so fragmented and divided, only 2 Conservative senators were elected Australia-wide. Myself and Pauline Hanson for One Nation. That's it. But here's the kicker. And this is based off the data and the facts. The Greens also received 12% of the vote in the Senate. However, they elected 6 senators. 6. The same amount of votes, 6 senators, because they had a more unified vote and their vote was not as divided. Now, the only reason we Conservatives don't have a senator in every state, just like the Greens, is division. If we are to see results on the Conservative side of politics, we need unity. We need unity. Now, thank you. Thank God we are not collectivists. We're not Marxists, right? But because we are not collectivists, we are naturally more inclined to compete. We all want to win. We all want to be first. And this is something that we need to address if this movement is going to have a future. We need to put aside our minor differences and come together and unite. Now, Now, failure to do so means that we'll continue to underperform at elections and we'll continue to see our country head down the path that it is currently on. Now, John Howard, he famously said, "Disunity is death." That's what he said, and that political statement holds true to this day. So where to from here? Well, only you can make that decision, ladies and gents. That is your decision. But I implore you to consider the fact that together we can achieve the extraordinary. Together we can ensure that we change the political landscape, not only in our state, but in our country, and together we can take our power back. But only together, ladies and gents, only together. Together, we can take back Victoria from the political frauds who have proved that they don't care about Australia. They don't care about our people. All they seem to do is sell us out. But to who? To foreign nations, to large multinational corporations, to the UN, to the World Economic Forum, to the woke mob. The list is extensive. You know what? Probably just to the highest bidder. That's to who? Labor and Liberal, we all know what they are. They are two wings on the same bird. That's what they are. They'll fight all day like cats and dogs about issues which are largely insignificant, but they'll always come together and they'll always agree when it comes time to doing that which will damage our country and damage our people. Now to that, I'm sure we all say enough. To that, we all say no more. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. Thank you, ladies and gents. Ladies and gents, we will not stand by while our future and our children's future is destroyed by people who just don't seem to care about us. So we must come together, and we are coming together. This event here today proves that. We are organising and we are challenging the status quo. Now, a wise man once said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Just do nothing, sit on the couch, have a beer. And that's exactly why I stand here in front of you today, and that's exactly why you are here today in this room. We will not do nothing. We will not. We can no longer stand idly by while injustice is done upon us. We can no longer stand by while politicians sit in Canberra and dictate down to us from their ivory towers, and that's exactly what they do. I've seen it, I've been there. We can no longer be silenced by mainstream media. We can no longer allow Labor, Liberal and the Greens to destroy this great country. We can no longer allow them to take our sovereignty. We can no longer allow them to turn good into bad and bad into good. We will come together. We will hold them accountable. We will fight and we will win, and we will defeat them at the ballot box. That's where it happens. We will champion conservative values. That's what we'll do. Now the time has come for us to move away from identifying as activists. It is now time to become members of political parties, parties who are in a position to make a difference. We've all been to the protests, we've marched, and there is a place for that. But if we want long-lasting and genuine change, we must become party members and support these parties. Remember, it is in Labor's and Liberals' interest to create fear, to create division. A divided society is easier to control. While people are busily fighting amongst each other, the Liberal and the Labor Party are left free to control us unabated and unchecked. I'm getting my signal, so I'll be very quick. Now, I'm a staunch patriot. I love our country. I love our state. Granted, I'd love it a little more if we got rid of Chairman Dan and his authoritarianism. Of course. I love our freedoms. I love that in our country you can be anything that you want to be. There is nothing and no one stopping you from achieving your hopes, your aspirations and your dreams. We live in a country where effort leads to opportunity, it leads to reward and it leads to success. But we are seeing these values that made us one of the greatest countries in the world in the first place stripped away. The family, children are being destroyed, the entrepreneurial spirit, the free market. They're destroying what it means to be male or female. They're even doing that. This is not a Victorian problem. This is happening everywhere, in every state, all across our nation. But we have an opportunity to end it right here at this election. The other states will follow our lead. What we do in Victoria on November 26 will echo across our nation. Our state and our country has many problems, but the problems that we are experiencing were created by men and women, and as such, they can be solved by men and women. We all must be the change that we want to see in the world. We must put our hands up and say enough. We must volunteer our time and support those who are fighting in the arena of public discourse to keep both Australia and Victoria free. Now, we will be standing candidates in all the upper house regions across our state. As you know, the upper house is a house of review where legislation is passed or rejected. Holding the balance of power in the upper house is paramount. With this power, we can block bad laws and use our influence to promote good ones. We all saw what happened with the pandemic legislation. It was passed by a handful of politicians. Now imagine if a Conservative Party held the balance of power in the upper house, the pandemic legislation would have never passed. Last paragraph, I promise. The United Australia will seek to be a check and balance on whichever party ends up forming government in the lower house. Our UAP candidates are all patriots, they're all freedom lovers. They protested just like you did on the streets of Melbourne. It doesn't matter who you decide to give your vote to in the lower house, but in the upper house, according to the numbers, to the data, to the AEC information which we have, the UAP is the best chance of blocking whatever terrible things that they have planned. Now, ladies and gents, together we will make a difference. Together we will stand up. Together we will create change. Together we will make a better tomorrow. And yes, together we will save Victoria and Australia and once again make us the place to be. Thank you.
Good job, mate. Well done.
I have to set it up.